see where we are. All right, let's chant a song Gurudev. Benudia, Leda say, Vina Pecadina, Benudia, Coeda say, Vina Pecadina, Sakala Sahane, Mola dia Goro, Nijamani Sprayina. Kalatsahane, Bula dia Koro, Nijamanis Briadina. Sakare Samana, Kurite Shikati, Leonata Diata Jata. Sakare Samana, Kurite Shikati, Leonata Diata Jata. Tabitoga Ibo, Urina Masuke, Apparada Koibeata. Tabitoga Ibo, Urina Masuke, Apparada Koibeata. Kapeno Kripano. Jana Kritarta Hoibenata Kapeheno Kripano Piai Jana Kritarta Hoibenata Zakatiwen Amiati Ben Borobore Atmasada Sakitien Amiati Den Korabore Atmasada Yogita Vichare Kichunai Boy Tumara Koruna Sara Yogita Vichare Kichunai Boy Tumara Koruna Sara Koranana Hoile Kandia Kandia Radanagra Kiboara Koranana Hoile Kandia Kandia Radanagra Kiboara Kripa Benudia Koe Dase Trina Pekahatina Tripa Benudia Koe Dase Trina Pekahatina Sakalat Sahane Bula Dia Koro Nijamane Spriana Sakalat Sahane Bula Dia Koro Nijamane Spriana Ripa Bindu Dia Koro Dase Ripa Bindu Trina Becca Trina Ripa Bindu Dia Koro Dase Trina Becca Tina Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Paravidikacharya. Also tell us that Shimad, His Divine Grace. Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Param Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuram Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Yamunam Hai Ki Jai, Srimati Glasa Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namahum. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tilamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarni Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prabhupada. So let me read the translation. Gurudev, give this servant just one drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Give me all help. Give me strength. Let me be as you are, without desires or aspirations. Gurudev, I offer you all respects, for thus I may have the energy to know you correctly. Then by chanting the holy name in great ecstasy, all my offenses will cease. Gurudev, when will such mercy fall to this one who is weak and devoid of intelligence? Allow me to be with you. Gurudev, if you examine me, you will find no good qualities. Your mercy is all that I am made of. If you are not merciful unto me, I can only weep, and I will not be able to maintain my life. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Anyway. All right, so let us continue with the Jaiva Dharma. So, Maganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Okay, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, let's share the screen. Here we go. Sharing the screen. And size the screen properly. All right. There's one other thing. Here we go. Okay. All right. We got 1, 1, 2, 7. Let me just see. I think it skipped ahead. 7, 4, 8. Yeah, I mean, skip behind. Hold on a second. I got to get back to the place. Yeah, that's roughly the place. Let's just see something. Okay, here's where we left off yesterday. Vijay Kumar is asking Guru Maharaj, who is known as Goswami, this question. He says, must we first purify the quality of our bhajan in Ashta Kaliya Leela Smarta, meditation upon the eternal pastimes of Goloka, by the 8 daily time divisions, and then try to grasp these topics of Braj? Okay. So he's asking, is it a prerequisite to understand what's been discussed previously about what Braj is? Okay. What was discussed was there's the Braj in this material world, which is called Gokul, and also Mathura Mandala. And there is the Braj in the spiritual world, which is called Goloka. And they're each the same for those devotees who have the vision. And those devotees who don't have the vision, then the Braj, or the realm of Vrindavan in this world, appears to be mundane. But it's not. It's covered by a thin layer of Yogamaya. That was one thing that was discussed. The second thing was that, and I thought this was quite interesting discussion, that in the spiritual world, there is no giving birth, no baby Krishna in the spiritual world. Okay. Krishna is like 16 years old, full youth in the spiritual world. And certainly there's no giving birth. But Yashoda Mai, has this Abhiman, which is the conception that she's the mother, even though the conception in the spiritual world is not manifest in that same way. But in the material realm, when there is Braj Gokul, that's Goloka in the material realm, then the conception, the Abhiman, manifests as something that can be perceived directly. For example, there's a birth of Krishna. There's demons in the material world, in the Braj Gokula Braj. But in the spiritual world, there's the conception of demons, but there's no demons. Okay, hope that's clear. So the question Vijay is asking is, before one can understand these things, which as I just explained to you, and hopefully you do understand, you have to perfect your meditation upon the Ashta Kaliya Lila. Ashta Kaliya Lila means the eightfold pastimes of Krishna that occur at different times of the day. For example, right now, Krishna is eating dinner. He just got back from pasturing the cows. If I was doing Ashta Kaliya Lila, which I'm not doing, I'm giving class. So if I was doing Ashta Kaliya Lila, I would say, all right, now Krishna's returning from the pasturing field, and Yashoda Mai is preparing prasadam. Krishna's being bathed by the Gopis. Anyway, so all these things are happening, and Radharani is cooking for him. So that's the time of the day. There's 8 times of the day. The day is broken down into 8 particular segments. That's called Ashta Kaliya Lila. And so who does that meditation is meditating on that depending on the time of the day that it is. Like when I'm getting up for Mangalarti, because it's the middle of the night. But let's say it's 6 o'clock in the morning here when the sun is rising. Then someone would meditate upon Krishna being woken up by the peacocks and then the other devotees, and told, you better get back home before it's discovered you were gone. And that's the time segment right then. That's how one would meditate. Okay. I'm not suggesting you do it, because that's very advanced stuff. I'm just saying this is what Ashta Kaliya Lila is. Kaliya refers to the time. Ashta, 8. Kaliya, according to the time. Lila, pastimes of Krishna. Krishna does different things during different days. It's like all of us. Those of us who are regulated, I don't know about those of you who are unregulated. I know a lot of unregulated people who can't even wake them up in the morning. But those who are regulated, they pretty much do the same thing every day. Prabhupada was like that too. You can actually have a Prabhupada Kaliya Lila, Ashta Kaliya Lila. Of course, then you'd have to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and start writing, or meditate on Prabhupada writing. It's interesting. I never heard of someone doing that, but you could. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has this Ashta Kaliya Lila too, in which one meditates upon the activities that Lord Chaitanya does at specific times of the day. So the question again is that one has to become expert in this meditation, or pure in this meditation? Goswami says, no, that is not correct. Meditation upon the Ashtakaliya Leela of Goloka must be conducted on the basis of one's own realization of Braja Leela. Then on the strength of one's individual bhajan, one attracts the Lord's grace, and accordingly, the Leelas will be spontaneously manifest before one. It is not necessary that one tries to improve one's bhava and perception of the pastime solely by one's endeavors. In other words, it's something that's not an artificial imposition on the mind. You can't force Krishna to manifest himself, but you can actually think about it, and Krishna may or may not manifest himself. Vijay says, one of the axioms of rhetoric means argumentation or words, utilizing words properly. An axiom is something like a self-evident truth, okay? Like what an axiom in logic would be, things equal to the same thing are equal to each other. You don't have to prove it, it's just self-evident that it's proven. Or Descartes, he said, I think, therefore I am, cogito ergo sum. It's a self-evident truth. And you build up your philosophy or your point of view based upon those axioms or self-evident truths. One of the axioms of rhetoric states, Yadrashi bhavana yasha siddhir bhavati tadrashi. A person attains the grades of perfection proportionate to his intellect. According to this logic, whatever quality of meditation was present during the years of sadhana will beget the equivalent degree of perfection. Therefore, may I assume that after all it is imperative that one refines his meditation upon Goloka? Yes, it is imperative. If one wants to go to Goloka, then it is imperative. It's interesting. Imperative means you gotta do it. There's no other way. You have to meditate upon Goloka. What does it mean to meditate? Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's relationships, Krishna's devotees in Goloka. And we have so much information given to us by Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam. So it's interesting. I was listening to Prabhupada Memory just today, actually. And the question was raised of Prabhupada. Like, what about, are there any devotees that decide just to stay in the material world and preach? Interesting question. They decide just to stay in the material world, preach, and not go back to Godhead. And Prabhupada said yes, the acharyas. Wow. Like Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and others. So Prabhupada didn't mention his own name, of course. And then the devotee asked Prabhupada, but aren't they in the spiritual world simultaneously? Of course, Prabhupada said yes. Just like these acharyas, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, and all these acharyas reveal what their siddhadeya was. If they actually revealed to people that, in the spiritual world, Nayana Manjari, for example. So they're actually in the spiritual world, simultaneous to being in this world preaching Krishna consciousness. Personally, I would love to be preaching Krishna consciousness eternally. I pray to Krishna for that. That Krishna can somehow or other engage me in doing kirtan and helping people in this world. That would be very blissful. But that's up to Krishna. Goswami says, very true. Whatever is present in Brajalila is rooted in the Supreme Absolute Truth. Nothing in Brajalila is... Brajalila means the pastimes in the spiritual world. Is contrary to the transcendental reality. Any contradiction would indicate imperfection. When sadhana is purified, when the practice is purified and mature, it is transformed into siddhi, perfection. That's what siddhi means. And as sadhana is progressively refined, the incipient perceptions of siddhi become sharper. You mean those built-in perceptions of siddhi, of perfection, become sharper. It's like if you ever have a camera, of course nowadays everybody uses a phone, but actually even in the phone you push a certain part of the image and then it comes into sharpness. But in the cameras that they used to have before phones were invented, camera phones were invented, you'd have a focus ring on the lens of your camera and you turn it around and something blurry would actually become sharper and sharper and sharper and completely sharp, and then you snap the picture. Give full attention to your sadhana so that it is executed properly. However, do not try to purify your bhava and perception of lila by your own capacity. In other words, just don't think, I'm supposed to experience, let's say, ecstasy, tears coming from my eyes. Okay, tears. I'm supposed to think of the lila. Okay, Krishna, please kiss me. Oh my God, that would be terrible. We had one devotee who wanted to do that with the deities, and she walked up to the deities and kissed the deity with her material lips. Purify your bhava and perception of lila by your own capacity. In due time, Krishna, who is the fountainhead of the achintya, inconceivable Shakti, energy, will do that for you. In other words, we got to please Krishna, have Krishna. Well, like Prabhupada said, we should not try to see Krishna. We should have Krishna see us. And that's the point. And once Krishna sees us, Krishna sees us all the time, but once Krishna appreciates our sincere endeavors and love, then Krishna reciprocates. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yanamam upayanti te. That within your heart, it will give you the intelligence and the vision and the spurties, realizations, whatever. On your own, such attempts will be adulterated, that means mixed, by the attitude of empirical, non-devotional jnana. Empirical means things you can perceive in yourself. This is what I've talked about many, many times. This morning in class I was talking about that. So what that means is, if one tries to, this morning I was explaining about Krishna kissing the gopis kissing Krishna. If one tries to understand that through his mundane mind, utilizing his empirical experiences, that means direct material sensory experiences in this world, then one will think that Krishna's kissing is like the kissing that goes on in this world, which is simply, sorry about this, which is simply moochie. Moochie means dirty. Anyway, and sorry if I'm offending anyone. I said, if you want to kiss something, then you have a suchi kiss, like clean. Then you kiss an orange. It'll give you actually more sensory input. You just take the orange. Orange has a rough peel on it. Not so rough. I'm not talking about sandpaper. And you just put your lips to the orange. At least the orange has a nice smell to it. So when, sorry about this. But when Krishna showers his grace, all anomalies, impurities, will be removed effortlessly. Vijay asks, Gurudev, I feel so blessed today. May I ask another question? This is an interesting question. Are the consorts of Dwaraka also allowed shelter in Goloka? That's interesting. Consorts of Dwarka are referring to Krishna's wives. Krishna doesn't have any girlfriends in Dwarka. They're all wives. They're all married. There's only Swakiya Bhav. Swakiya Bhav means the married relationship, emotional. And Parikiya means the unmarried. The unmarried only takes place in Braj, in Vrindavan, Goloka, or Gokul. So we have to remember that. Of course, in the material world, there's all sorts of parakya, but that's a disgusting parakya. Goswami said, in the spiritual sky, Vaikuntha offers endless bliss. Vaikuntha is the highest attainment. Dwarka and countless other realms are present within Vaikuntha. The queens of Dwarka reside and serve Krishna in their individual palaces. It's a lot of opulence there. They each have their own houses. In Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna never gives the gopis houses. Except the only house he gives them is in the bushes. The bush house. Everything's quite simple there. But in Dwarka, they have these big, giant palaces with so many servants and bodyguards and children. No one else is allowed to enter Goloka in Madhurya Ras besides the Braja Ramanis, the damsels of Vrindavan. No one else is allowed. Prohibited. Completely prohibited. Just like during the Rath Yatra, when Lord Jagannath goes to Vrindavan, which is known as the Gundicha temple, Lakshmi, she tries to enter, but she's not allowed. The entire spectrum of transcendental Leelas, pastimes, enacted in Braj is present in Goloka. Braj here refers to the material realm, is present in the spiritual realm. However, it is mentioned in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad that Queen Rukmini enjoys Swakiya Leela with Krishna and Mathura within the precincts of Goloka. Now I'll explain what that means. All right. Swakiya means like married relationship. In Mathura, within the precincts of Goloka, because in the planet of Goloka, there's a neighborhood called Mathura. So, but she doesn't enter into the inner part of Goloka, which in this case I think is called Gokul. So Gokul is used in two different contexts. Vijay says the range of Parikya Ras, that means basically unmarried relationships, pastimes visible in Braj, is it present in Goloka in the same sequence? That means sequence means one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. Goswami said, yes, the pastimes are present in Goloka in the same sequence, except those portions that are enacted in conjunction with the Maya Shakti. That means the demons or things like that. Although these portions are missing, each of them has a pure transcendental source. I do not wish to delve deeper into this topic. You will learn about it through your mature bhajan. In other words, you really need to get into chanting now and doing some bhajans. You're going to start realizing these things. Yes, so there's some pastimes that only occur within this realm. I mean, even the pastime of Krishna giving birth, not giving birth, being born, is only within this realm. Vijay says, this entire material manifestation disappears at the time of the Mahapralaya. Mahapralaya means the great devastation or annihilation, total annihilation. So how is the Samprata Bhava, that means the emotion that beyond time of Brajalila, eternal, timelessness of Brajalila, eternal. So the Braja, in the material world, it appears to not exist at the time of the dissolution or the annihilation, because everything comes to an end. Bhutva, bhutva, praliyate, as the Bhagavad Gita states. Again and again there's a creation, and again there's a devastation. So this is an interesting question. So how is it that those pastimes which occur in the Braja Leela, in this world, Vrindavan, Mathura Vrindavan, how are they eternal when that whole place gets destroyed? Goswami says, Braja Leela is eternal in two ways. Braja Leela again means the pastimes within this world. First, the Prakata Lila, manifest pastimes, that's when Krishna was present over 5,000 years ago, and then he left, are some pratiti, constantly present for perception, since they are in a cyclic continuation of manifestation progressing throughout the different material universes. What that means in plain English is that Krishna appears in a regular schedule once in a day of Lord Brahma on the Earth planet in this universe. In other universes, it's on a regular schedule. It's a cycle. Once in a day of Lord Brahma. In this universe, in other universes, you'd have to ask the Lord Brahmas there. Question them, if you like. So that's the regular cycles. You know, it cycles. Like a wheel. A bicycle cycle is a wheel because the top of the wheel, I got a bicycle in the back of me, in case you can't see. So I'm looking at a wheel. Like I had, there's one point on the wheel and I'm spinning the wheel. And then it gets to the same point after some time. That's why it's called cyclical or cyclic continuation of manifestation, progressing through different material universes. Thus, the different prakata leelas, the manifest leelas in this world, are continually and simultaneously manifesting within the material creation. In other words, somewhere, the manifest, that means manifest things you can see, or manifest things you means you cannot see, somewhere or other, the manifest pastimes of Krishna in some universe are taking place. Every single one of those pastimes. Somewhere Krishna is being born. Somewhere Krishna is killing the Trinavarta demon. Somewhere Krishna is killing a Gasura. And somewhere Krishna is dancing with the Gopis. Some universe, in the manifest way. The sun is always rising relative to one area of this particular planet. In the same way, a particular Prakata Lila is always manifesting in one other material universe. That's really easy to understand. That somewhere or other, there's sunrise on this Earth planet. Right? Somewhere. I mean, if you look at a world clock, you know, it's in the evening, it's probably close to sunrise in Fiji now. Maybe a little bit before, a little afterwards. But anyway, so it's the sunrise. It's interesting that it says that Fiji is the first place where the sun rises. It's not the first place. The sun is always rising. But because of the international dateline, it appears like it's the first place where the sun rises. I hope everyone understands that. And also, it's the first place where you could celebrate the New Year. When it's the end of December, the 31st of December, and it becomes the 1st of January, 12:01 in the morning, in Fiji first. So you should go there. I remember that was during the Y2K. People would go to Fiji just to experience the next century. Kind of stupid. So, and as it becomes unmanifest in that particular universe, it becomes manifest in the next universe. In other words, when Krishna's pastimes are not seen in a particular universe, they're seen in another universe. In this way, the Prakata Lila are eternal. They're always occurring somewhere. Secondly, in the aprakata, unmanifest state, all pastimes are manifest in the Nitya Varta Mana, transcendental eternal present. That's an interesting statement. So in the pastime, after Krishna disappears from this planet, just to explain it very simply, these pastimes, all the pastimes are present, but you cannot perceive them. But the energy and the pastimes are taking place. But they're not manifest, they're unmanifest. Just like to give a gross example, there may be a ghost in this room and the ghost is not manifest, but it's in this room. Of course, that's a pretty bad example. If the Prakata Lila is manifest, the Prakata means the manifest Lila, is manifest in every universe, is there a Brajatam in each and every universe? Good question, Vijay. Gotta congratulate you on that question. Goswami says, yes, that is true. Goloka is a manifest entity present in every Brahmanda as the Leela Dham. So in every universe, the countless universes which are like mustard seeds in a bag of mustard seeds, everyone has Braj in it. As the Leela Dham. Leela Dham means the abode of pastimes, that's all. Transcendental site of divine pastimes, which is actually the same translation. Goloka is also manifest in the hearts of the Shuddha Bhaktas. That is so cool. The pure devotees, like Prabhupada, are carrying around Goloka with them all the time. So that's why when you come in touch with Prabhupada and read his books, even though you may not understand, so this is the purity of a pure devotee. You may not understand who or what you're coming in contact with. That's why Prabhupada extolled the importance of his book distribution. Of course, we should make books that people understand. Or take excerpts from Prabhupada so that people should not try to give people too esoteric books like the Chaitanya Charitamrita, unless they're ready for it. Vijayas, another question. Why does Sri Mathura Mandala area remain manifest in those universes where the Leelas are presently unmanifest? You know, in other words, why is Vrindavan still there when after Krishna left? Why did it just like dissolve? Goswami says, in Mathura Mandala, the Aprakata Leela is eternally manifest. That means if you go to Vrindavan in this world and you are receptive, you have your heart is pure, you will experience Krishna's pastimes. Yes, you'll have a spurti, which means a full manifestation, realization of Krishna's pastimes. You'll see it. You'll feel it. Well, maybe you don't see it, but you'll feel it. I mean, it's like with the Goswamis of Vrindavan. I mean, there's some stories where once in a while, like, for example, with Raghunath Das Goswami, he was meditating on the banks of the Shamakund, and Krishna would appear to protect him from a tiger, or Radharani would appear to protect him from the sun. The Dhamma, however, remains manifest in order to exhibit mercy to the pure devotee residents, and also to exhibit mercy to us conditioned souls who need mercy. I mean, if the Dham wasn't there, you know, how could we get it? But specifically, it's mentioned the pure devotee residents. What does that mean? That means when we go to the Dham, we should serve the residents. We should not see them materially as uneducated, poor, or dirty, whatever you want to see like that. But they are actually pure devotee residents. You don't see them as such because of your Maya, not because of their Maya, or their Yoga Maya. The discussion concluded at this point, and Vijay Kumar returned home engrossed in thoughts of Seva in the Ashta Kaliya Leela. So in other words, when you meditate on the eightfold pastimes of Krishna, you don't just meditate, Krishna doing this, Krishna doing that. You meditate upon serving Krishna during those 8 times of the day, doing some specific service like massaging his feet, or playing catch with him if you're a coward boy, or feeding him if you're in the Rasa Vatsalya. Thus ends the 31st chapter of the Jaiva Dharma, entitled Madhurya Ras, the Supremely Sweet Conjugal Mellow, Part 1. Wow. So we're learning a lot here. This is really important information. So chapter 32 is also called Madhurya Ras, but Part 2. Rajanath, after concluding his bhajan, put his japa beads aside and retired for the night. Vijay Kumar had also lain himself upon his bed, so in other words, they're staying together, after finishing his evening prasadam, but he found sleep elusive. In other words, he couldn't fall asleep. You know, many of us have that same issue, but it's not because of spiritual realization, it's because of anxiety. That's funny. He had always been under the impression that Goloka was a separate place from Gokula. In other words, the Goloka in the spiritual world was completely different than the Vrindavan in this mature world. But today he heard that Goloka and Gokula were non-different. Therefore, Padakya Ras was also rooted in Goloka. So in other words, he was thinking, you know, only in Gokul, material world, does Krishna run around with other people's wives. And then he was thinking, after he was told by by Goswami, his Guru Maharaj, that no, both places Krishna's running around with other people's wives. So he was thinking, how is this possible, this to happen? These are the thoughts of great devotees. They're wondering about that, not wondering whether prasadam is going to be the next thing, not wondering who's going to pay their bills, not wondering whether their wife is happy with them. You know, they're just like wondering, well, how is this possible? So anyway, however, one thought kept turning in his mind. How does Krishna accept the role of an upapati? Upapati means a paramour, you know, someone who's not married and having a relationship, a man. Krishna is the supreme truth, and Shaktiman Krishna, that means Krishna who owns all the Shaktis, and the Shaktis are non-different. Even if the Shakti were to be separated from Shaktiman, the Shakti would be separated from the person who emanates the Shakti. How could Shakti be considered married to another Gopa and Krishna the Upapati? So, you know, what he's doing is thinking what we call ontologically. That means, yes, it's true. There's no question of unmarried relationship of Krishna with anybody because everyone's his. As I mentioned many times before, if one thinks as a jiva soul that someone, your wife or husband, belong to you, then that's an upapati relationship. In other words, the so-called husband is an upapati. You're trying to have a relationship with someone who belongs to Krishna. You know, so you're taking possession. You're a thief. You're taking possession of someone who actually is Krishna's consort. Oh my God. So you better be very strict. How could Shakti be considered married to another? How could Krishna's Shakti, which belongs to Krishna, Krishna's energy, be married to someone else? And Krishna to have an illicit relationship because they belong to Krishna? Good question. This is actually a really good question. And it's ontologically, he's right. But Leela-wise, that's different. For the purpose of Leela, or pastimes, this is what takes place. For the purpose of Krishna's enjoyment, there's the abhiman. Remember we talked about that word abhiman? There's the conception that someone is not married to Krishna. Initially, he thought, I shall ask Srila Gurudev about this conundrum, this questionable thing, you know. I'm questioning about tomorrow. But then he reflected, perhaps returning to this topic would be inappropriate, yet this irksome perplexity is better dispelled. Eventually, Vijayas' ponderings were assuaged by the gentle caress of sleep. But all at once he found himself before his Gurudev in a vivid dream, submitting the very mystery that had so insistently beset his mind. So the Gurudev sometimes appears in dreams. So in his dream he was asking his Guru Maharaj the question. Vijaya heard the reply of his Guru distinctly. Dear son, Krishna is fully independent in all his activities. His desires are unimpeded and absolute. His eternal desire is that his Mathurya should be fully revealed and predominate over his Aishvarya. In other words, his sweetness should predominate, be more important, more manifest than his greatness. That's really what differentiates Krishna consciousness basically from every other Vedic path, or even paths that worship God or Krishna. That Krishna's sweetness is much more important than Krishna being God. His opulence. What does it mean by opulence? Well, he's the richest, the most famous. That's opulence. So, in a relationship, what's better? Let's say you're married to someone and you love them. Okay, take that hypothetical. And they're also rich. So really the important thing, hopefully, unless you're just a gold digger, I'm not going to tell you what that is. I'll tell you what it is. It's a lady who gets married to someone for money. Like Jacqueline Kennedy married Aristotle Onassis. That's another thing. Unless you're a gold digger, then the love is much more important than how much money the guy has. Accordingly, he is given a separate identity to his divine para shakti, transcendental potency, who subsequently manifests countless millions of stunningly beautiful gopis to serve him eternally with tender, loving care. So in other words, Krishna's spiritual potency manifests. Is the audio dim? Oh, wait a second, let me check. Someone sent a message there. Yeah, it's a little dim. Dim-dum, and now it's regular. Okay, now it's regular. Sorry about that. Someone should have just sent me a message. So Krishna manifests, arranges for his Parashakti to manifest, and this is eternal. It's not at some time they were manifest, to manifest these beautiful gopis who serve him eternally with tender, loving care. But Krishna is not fully satisfied by service, influenced by the perception of his Aishvarya, which is his opulence. So by exhibiting a fabulous aspect in his Yogamaya Shakti, that means his Yogamaya means the internal potency that causes people to forget Krishna as God. He arranges for all the gopis to adopt the abhiman. There's that word abhiman, the conception of being the wives of Gopis in the idyllic village of Braja, Vrindavana. So they have this conception because that conception is implanted in their minds by Yogamaya. As a result, the gopis live in their individual households, identifying with their status as married women of Braja. In concert with this Abhiman, Krishna joyfully assumes relationship with the gopis in the role of Upapati. So even like by identity, there's no question of Krishna being an Upapati, but because Krishna arranges for the gopis' identity as belonging to Krishna in terms of the marriage relationship to be covered by Yogamaya, then it appears to be the Upapati relationship, or the relationship because of the Abhiman, the conception that each one has that they're married to someone else. Krishna arranges that conception, Yogamaya arranges that conception to increase the enjoyment, because it's much more enjoyable and interesting. Let's say interesting. In the material world, it's much more disgusting, but in the spiritual realm, it's much more interesting. Even the material world is much more interesting. I mean, how many movies are made of just people who are happily married and everything goes well? Okay, so on that happy note, it's time for your questions. So who would like to ask a question?
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Yes, ask a question about some topic that we talked about today.
Yes, I have on today's topic 3 questions. You can answer whichever you like.
Just give me one.
Okay. First question. You talked about in earlier lines, no devotional, if we try to understand bhava by our own endeavor, then it says that will be considered a no empirical knowledge or non-devotional jnana. So we should not try to do it. My question is, if it is a non-devotional jnana, then what is a devotional jnana?
Devotional jnana means basically knowledge given to us in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. Non-devotional jnana is actually speculative knowledge or knowledge given by someone or from some source that is imperfect. That's non-devotional knowledge. It must be perfect knowledge, and perfect knowledge about Krishna and perfect knowledge about Tattva. The Tattva knowledge about the Tattva, Krishna, who Krishna is, the Ras, which we're learning about right now, and the Bhav, which we're learning about right now. And the emotions. We actually spoke quite a bit about emotions, Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika Bhava, Vyabhachari Bhava, Sthai Bhava, etc. So, to have knowledge of those things is devotional knowledge. And devotional knowledge is a descending process. It must come from a pure devotee. Otherwise, it will not be effective. Okay? Empirical means things you can see with your eyes. Like, my empirical vision is that I see a microphone in front of me. You don't see it because it's off to the side of the camera. My empirical vision is I see a big screen in front of me. That's empirical. Okay? So, good question. Let's let someone else. Oh, here's a question. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Can persons not Krishna conscious switch births in other material universes? Yes, from this universe, of course. You can go from one universe to another. Brahmanda, Brahmate, Kanda, Bhagavan, Jiva, Krishna, Sadhiva. So basically, yeah, you could take your next birth in another universe, even if you're not Krishna conscious. And if you are Krishna conscious, you can also take birth in another universe where Krishna's pastimes are taking place. Either way. Yeah, because the soul is not limited to one universe. They may be a good fit for your particular karma in universe Y. Now you're in universe, I don't know what the number is, but we're in a universe where there's 4-headed Brahma. In other universes, Lord Brahma has 8 heads, 16 heads, 32 heads, 64 heads, 128 heads, 256 heads. It's a lot, 512 heads. And you could figure it out from there. Okay, how does a conditioned jiva with an arthas, how are they able to please Krishna? Very easy. You please Krishna's devotee, and then Krishna becomes pleased. Because we may not have the devotion, Krishna is only pleased by devotion, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita. Yome Bhakta Pranayashati, that offering with leaf or fruit or water or whatever you offer should be done as an offering to me with love. Because without love, Krishna is not going to accept anything. So we offer to Krishna's devotee with love, and Krishna's devotee. So here's another question. Hare Krishna Gurudev, accept my humble obeisances. Example of a devotee who kissed the deities with material lips. Is that right? No. That is not right to kiss the deities with material lips. That's offensive because that's projecting your material conceptions. That's the same thing, your empirical understanding, your mental speculation. And doing something that's against Shastra. Shruti Smriti Purnadi Pancharatraki Vihi Vina Akanti Kir Hariya Bhakti Upata Kalpa Kalpa, something like that. So one who executes devotional service and violates the injunctions, but the Yagvakalpate. So it violates the injunctions. That devotional service is a disturbance to society, and so if one does that, it's offensive. Krishna, if you want to kiss Krishna, you can't do it with a material body. First of all, you have to have a spiritual body. Even the Gopis, who were just joining Krishna in the Rasa Leela dance. They had to leave. That Krishna called for them with his flute, and they were stopped by their husbands, and they had to actually give up their material body to join Krishna. So you can't dance with Krishna in a material body. That's not. You should get a little Krishna doll and start dancing with him. Here's a new question. Another question. Doesn't Lord Brahma become confused when a jiva comes from another universe? Says, I don't know. You have to ask him. Since there, no, but he understands what's happening. Since there's so many universes with different Brahmas, because when a jiva comes from another universe, he forgets his past birth. Like when I take another birth, I'm not going to remember my birth, my present birth. So he's not going to say, he's not going to come into the universe and say, hey, this universe is kind of crummy. The other universe I was in was much better than this one, so what's happening, Brahma? Send me back to the other universe. You're not going to say that. That's ridiculous. So, all right, final question about Chaitanya Das.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Just a quick question. You know how we're saying that Lord Krishna only appears once in a day of Brahma, but then he's also, if there's a pastime happening everywhere at any point in time in a different universe. So what does it quite mean? What does it quite mean, Gurudev, that he only appears once in a day of Brahma then?
Well, I guess different universe had different time sequences too.
Okay, so in the cycle of the Kali Yuga, Satyug to Kali Yuga, only appears once in Dwapar Yuga, is it? And not the other Dwapar Yugas. It doesn't. Krishna doesn't take place.
No. Krishna doesn't appear. Well, he appears in different avatars, but not in the original form. Only in this particular cycle, in this particular Manu, it was around the middle of the day for Lord Brahma. And he appears in his original form, and Lord Chaitanya appears after him.
Okay, so in the other avatars, Gurudev, then those leelas like the Gopi Leela and things like that would not happen?
No Gopis and other avatars. Like Vamandev is not known for Gopis. The other avatars. Lord Nrsimhadev does not dance with Gopis.
No, of course, yeah. No, so I meant if Krishna doesn't appear even like as Krishna, he doesn't appear at all in any of the.
He doesn't manifest himself. He's an unmanifest. He appears to pure devotees, but not to people who are not pure devotees. Yes, you don't see Lord Kapila dancing with the Gopis or
no.
Lord Ramchandra. I mean, all the other, as far as I know, all the other incarnations just had one wife. Lakshmi Nrsimha, Sita Ram, like that. They behave themselves, whereas Krishna doesn't behave himself because he's the sweet God.
Thank you, Gurudev. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Aishwarya God, but Krishna is the sweet God. Okay, looks like we have to end. Thank you very much. All glories to Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada.